Okay, chapter 11. Let's join together in the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvoto v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, so again, fitting here as we are in the Passover holiday, we get to read about the last plague. We have death of the firstborn. Spoiler alert. Okay, Rick, you want to start us off? And God said,
and the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. After that, he shall let you go from here. Indeed, when he lets you go, he will drive you out of here, one and all. Tell the people to borrow each man from his neighbor and each woman from hers, objects of silver and gold. The Lord disposed the Egyptians favorably toward the people. Moreover, Moses himself was much esteemed in the land of Egypt among Pharaoh's courtiers and among the people.
So it wasn't a complete loot job. It's like the idea of us like taking everything out of Egypt. Like they gave it to us. It's so nice. Here are your parting gifts that we get. Yeah, we're going to borrow. We're going to come back and return them. It's not really borrowing per se, but it's going to be a little back pay. Okay, let's keep going.
Moses said, thus says the Lord, toward midnight I will go forth among the Egyptians, and every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the millstones, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And there shall be a loud cry in all the land of Egypt, such as never been or will ever be again. But not a dog shall snarl at any of the Israelites, at man or beast, in order that you may know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. Then all these courtiers of yours shall come down to me, bow low to me, saying, depart you and all the people who follow you. After that I will depart. And he left Pharaoh's presence in hot anger.
In hot anger, indeed. Yes, so that's our sort of setup here for this last plague. That it's a pretty big. Again, Moses has a lot to say, and he's making it very clear that this is going to happen. It's going to affect everybody in Egypt. Actually, did we read this last week? I think we had read this last week. I'm not sure. I don't remember. No? Okay. Maybe because I've been studying the Haggadah so much this week, it feels.
No, we haven't. I don't think we read it.
Okay. Yeah. So, but it's we're right here. Melissa. Now God said.
Now the Lord had said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed you, in order that my marvels may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Moses and Aaron had performed all these marvels before Pharaoh. But the Lord had stiffened the heart of Pharaoh so that he would not let the Israelites go from the land.
Yeah, so again, the marvels are going to be multiplied, not one, not two. In the Haggadah, in the traditional Haggadah, it talks about how, well, were there 10 plagues, or were there 20 plagues, or were there 50 plagues, or were there 100 plagues? Because they want to make sure that we really are multiplying the plague. So it says God's finger, but God's finger, that must mean one plague. But if it's God's hand, that's 5 plagues. And then if it's God's arm, it's, and so in the Haggadah, they want to make sure, the rabbis want to let you know that the Egyptians got it, but good. And that they were really smacked around. So I always felt bad in reading the Haggadah. It was like, that's a lot of plagues. 10 is enough. I think they got the message. We don't have to keep on extrapolating and exaggerating and adding more plagues. In fact, did anyone read that article in the Times a couple of days ago from this doofus? I forgot his name already, which is probably not a bad thing. But he was basically complaining that Judaism is terrible, and the root of it was because he had a really lousy rabbi, apparently. So that was really.
Was in the Times?
Yeah, the New York Times. No, New York Times. Sorry, wrong Times. The New York Times. I don't read the Tampa Bay Times. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, maybe the sports section. But I mean, he was sort of writing about how violent and bloodthirsty basically the Passover story is, and I feel like he may have missed the greater, meaning of the holiday experience, and was maybe a bit of a hyper literalist. The reason I think about it was that, again, he went to yeshiva growing up, and he was really rebelling against the teachings that he got from his yeshiva upbringing. And one of the teachings I remember he was upset about was like, and the breast milk of the Egyptian women was also blood. And I'm like, I don't remember that being in the Bible. It's like, yeah, I might have skipped that verse. No, I don't doubt that somewhere it might have landed in the Midrash somewhere. But like the Midrash is supposed to be exaggeration and supposed to be not taken literally. And so, but it just shows that the rabbis really, like, when you read the literature, they want to make this as bad as possible for the Egyptians, as an understanding of displaying God's signs and wonders and really punishing Pharaoh and punishing the people. And so in different literature, there's like a lot more plagues, or they don't even really enumerate them, but it's saying what they exactly were. But they, again, it's along the same idea of multiplying. The marvels are being multiplied in the land of Egypt. It's a little much, but not meant to be, again, taken literally. My matzah's been pretty tasty this week. How about yours? Anyone really enjoying their matzah? No one enjoys their matzah.
I found gluten-free matzah, so that was pretty good.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
Matzah's
No,
bad enough.
I will definitely say, that for people who need like gluten-free stuff, it's nice to have gluten-free matzah. Though like matzah by itself feels like it's gluten-free. So it's like to have
Yeah.
gluten-free matzah, you might as well be eating air. How much of what's in it? Like it's just but
Yeah.
exactly right. But it is a good thing for those who have allergies, whatever else, or trying to
My
avoid.
family says it's like eating cardboard, no
Yes,
matter what
it
it
is.
is.
Oh, I've had it before.
And they try making matzah brine out of it.
Yeah, like there's sometimes it's just unlike the Israelites, their gluten-free matzah is hard to redeem. Yeah, it just doesn't work so well.
Sharon, what brand
Yes.
of gluten-free did you get?
I like the horseradish. I actually found horseradish root. That was good. That was hard to find, but Winn-Dixie
Sprouts.
carry. What? Sprouts.
Sharon,
Yes,
what brand of gluten-free did you find?
hold on.
What you
Matzah-
have to really be careful about is kosher for Passover, because Publix doesn't sell kosher for Passover matzah.
Manischewitz.
That looks the Manischewitz brand.
Yeah,
Oh, you found a Manischewitz gluten-free.
yeah.
Where
And I
did you?
don't think, but the same Publix that I found it in didn't have kosher for Passover matzah, regular
They
matzah.
don't.
I know,
First
Oh, yeah?
year, no egg matzah. All of a sudden,
crazy.
Yeah.
I get so much, all of a sudden, we do less every year.
Yeah, I did.
Less matzah. We bought 10 pounds of matzah at the start, and we have gotten through 6. We're on pound 7 of matzah at this point. And that's not including a box of shmura that we've already gone through. My kids eat it like it's just like candy, like kosher Passover candy. Like the matzah goes fast in the house.
Don't put chocolate on it, they won't eat it.
Yeah, they don't like the dessert matzah. You know, Ari's there with like a bowl of charoset in the corner with the matzah, like doing this, and I'm like, yeah, it's a little much, Ari. That's okay. Okay, and it's for posterity on YouTube. This conversation, excellent. So, on chapter 12, Melissa, give me a little more.
The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month shall mark for you the beginning of the months. It shall be the first of the months of the year for you. Speak to the whole community of Israel and say that on the 10th of this month, each of them shall take a lamb to a family, a lamb to a household. But if the household is too small for a lamb, let him share one with a neighbor who dwells nearby. In proportion to the number of persons, you shall contribute for the lamb according to what each household will eat. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a yearling male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep watch over it until the 14th day of this month, and all the assembled congregation of the Israelites shall slaughter it at twilight."
Okay, so we got to buy our Paschal lamb. Every house gets one. So if you can't afford a lamb, you go to your neighbor's house and you have lamb together. So that's easy enough. And now it's time for a little bit of blood. Tyler, you want to pick up there?
They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they are to eat it. They shall eat the flesh that same night. They shall eat it roasted over the fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or cooked in any way with water, but roasted head, legs, and entrails over the fire. You should not leave any of it over until morning. If any of it is left until morning, you shall burn it.
You shall burn it. So we have again our first sort of parts of the Seder here: the unleavened bread, the bitter herbs. We don't know what the bitter herbs were at that point, but it's whatever they had. And again, gotta roast that lamb. No boiling, no poaching, no ossobuco. That's all. You can do that with a lamb, right? The lamb ossobuco.
Yeah.
Oh, a
No.
little lamb shank,
Yeah.
lamb or veal shank.
Lamb, yeah.
Delicious. Back in the day, not anymore, but back in the day, delicious for me. But left that behind. And so then, but you got to eat it that night. No leftovers. Can't have that. What's Passover without leftovers? I'm still eating chicken soup. I got, in the fridge. My goodness, you got to have leftovers, but not allowed to have it. And some blood in that doorpost. Okay. Tyler, a little more. This is how?
This is how you shall eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it hurriedly. It is a Passover offering to the Lord. For that night I will go through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and I will mete out punishments to all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord, and the blood on the houses where you are staying shall be a sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, so that no plague will destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt.
Now, I don't know about you, and I'm sitting down to dinner. I don't want to eat it with my loins girded and sandals on my feet. Then that's not how I do things. Staff in my hand. How can you eat? You're eating with one hand. Staff's in your hand. It's not couth. It doesn't work. I don't care for it. Lamb chop. Let's dig into it. But the idea is, again, in haste. You're doing this. It's not a leisurely meal. You're not sort of sitting and relaxing and having a swell time. You're sort of eating it quickly because you got to be ready to go. This is your last meal for a while. The last meat for a while too, if memory serves, until we get into the wilderness, because it's a lot of matzah and eventually manna that's going to be coming at you. So they have a little lamb, they have some horseradish, and then we're going to celebrate.
It's interesting that we never hear about it's definitely not part of the Seder that I've ever heard about. The girding and the sandals.
Oh yeah, no, we did away with that in terms of at least how we have a Seder. This I think is just for that night. We're gonna gird and we're gonna have our staff. Later on, it's gonna be more of the Greek-Roman experience of relaxing on a pillow, drinking a lot of wine, telling some stories. They destroyed the temple, but they let us get drunk in Passover. So that's I don't know if it exactly evens out, but it's nice to have a Seder. And the wine's nice. Yeah, the wine's nice. Something that I always do, and I did again this year, is I always buy 4 or 5 really nice bottles of Israeli wine. That way I'm not drinking Manischewitz for a Seder. Yeah, you gotta sort of go buy the good stuff from the Golan Heights, from the Galilee. It's also a nice Zionist statement as well. But to support Israel's economy and buy some good wine, it's a win-win for everybody. So just always a good thing to mention. And cheap plug on the Israel trip in June, you might learn a little bit more about the Israeli wines as well. Because there are a lot of wonderful little wineries and not so little wineries up in the Galilee and the Golan. Okay, cheap plug accomplished. So let's keep going. Where were we? This day shall be.
Yes.
Sharon, you want to pick up there, Sharon?
Sure. This day shall be to you one of remembrance. You shall celebrate it as a festival to God throughout the ages. You shall celebrate it as an institution for all time. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the very first day you shall remove the leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day to the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. You shall celebrate a sacred occasion on the first day, and a sacred occasion on the 7th day. No work at all shall be done on them. Only what every person is to eat, that alone may be prepared for you. You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For on this very day I brought your ranks out of the land of Egypt. You shall observe this day throughout the ages as an institution for all time.
Thank you for that. So yeah, it gives us already very early on. So we haven't even left Egypt yet, right? We're still there. These are the instructions for what's going to happen, in the night. But we're already getting a sense of calendar, right? So God said a sacred day, a holy day. And say this is what you're going to do, for all times to celebrate this this feast of unleavened bread. And that you're going to do it 7 days, and you're going to have your little chametz hunting. You're going to get rid of all your leaven. So even here, we have some of those traditions that remain, today. And if you don't do it, you're exiled. That's a little rough.
Rabbi, where did the tradition come from to look for chametz with a feather?
I think that came in.
In the ghetto.
I think it came in Talmudic. I'd have to look it up where exactly started with the feather and the candle and the whole thing of when that exactly started. That feels probably something, I'm guessing, not modern, but more modern than other things.
Right.
I think to get to that candle point.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this portion of the Torah, does it come up every year, this parsha on Passover, or it just happened to this year?
Neither. We're reading, in order, and so we're just been reading from Genesis on, and so it's just happenstance that we've sort of gotten to this point in our yearly sort of reading. But this week's Torah portion, we're already in Leviticus at this point in time in terms of the Torah cycle. However, during the festival of Passover, in addition to reading from the portions in Leviticus that are the normal sort of cycle of the Torah, we have holiday portions, and this is actually one of them. This is read on, I think, on Shabbat Hagadol, or just the festival day of Passover, this actual portion of the Torah. So we read two parts. We read the Leviticus part on Shabbat, and we also read from Exodus. So we read a little bit of both. So that's really good. 7 days, not 8, we'll notice, but in the conservative and Orthodox communities, they do an 8th day. Got to get with the calendar. In Israel, it's 7, then even the Orthodox, do 7 days in Israel. It's a 7-day holiday. But in the diaspora, we've gotten an 8th day. And this idea of the sacred occasion on the first day, so meaning that it's like a Shabbat, that the first day of the holiday is a chag, in the truest sense. It is a day of no work. It's a day to be treated like it is a Shabbat. And the other days in the middle are Kol HaMoed, that they are, secular days of the holiday, that they don't have the same laws, to them as the first day does, or the last day as well. The last day is also a sacred day, first and last. Let's see, anything else here? Yeah, just that, calendar is important. Got to get our dates down all time. Okay.
What I'm seeing is giant print.
How giant?
Well, I couldn't read it except the middle.
That might be your setting. Is anyone else having giant print problems?
No, No,
Okay.
Well,
Are you seeing normal print?
yeah.
yeah. Look at, it should be able to read it across the top, Garmin 18. Do you see that on the top?
Yeah, not on mine. Okay. So I'm
Yeah.
not reading because I
You
can't.
all file
It's
here.
gigantic.
Can you grab a corner and make it smaller? Yeah, you can
No,
make
I
it
tried that.
smaller.
No, I can't. I'm
Oh.
not on the computer.
Oh,
That can also get you. I don't know. I'm on an iPad too.
Okay, go ahead. I just wondered if it
Okay.
was this one. Okay. Ah, wait a minute. Maybe I can. Let's see. No, I can't change the settings. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Just don't make me read because I can't see it. I mean, I can see it, but I can't see it all at one time.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we will hope that that gets cleared up for you, I guess. It's another plague, the plague of
Let's play
technology.
with it a little bit. Yeah.
the computer plague.
Computer plague. Okay, Leah, you want to hook up here in the first month?
Okay, in the first month, from the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. No leaven shall be found in your houses for 7 days. For whoever eats what is leavened, that person, whether a stranger or a citizen of the country, shall be cut off from the community of Israel. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your settlements, you shall eat unleavened bread.
Very nice. Unleavened bread. Yeah, it's a lot.
Statement
Pita
didn't
isn't
say.
really leavened. But you can't have pita either.
I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
then you took it away from.
Yeah, pita can't. Yeah, it's leavened enough.
But you could
Yeah.
have potatoes.
You can have potato, so like I'm there with Benji yesterday, and like, I'm trying to explain to him why he can't have McDonald's, and he's not very happy with me. He's not buying these excuses. I'm like, Benji, it's Passover. No Passover. Give me my damn nuggets. He was not amused.
Take the breading off of them.
Yeah, and like we were like strolling around, at the beach. They had this thing they were selling mozzarella sticks, and he was not amused because that's like his favorite mozzarella stick. No mozzarella stick, Benji. He took it in stride, but yeah. So that's what I was thinking about. So when I was in Houston, my temple president and I, we always would meet, as I do here, meet weekly with the temple president, get a little coffee, get a little whatever. And so it's like the third day of Passover, and it's our meeting day. And he calls me up, said, "Oh, you want to go meet?" And I thought, "Oh, fine, well, I'll meet. I'm not going to eat with you, but I'll meet." And so he's like, "Well, let's go over to Denny's and we'll have some coffee." And I said, "Okay, fine." I'm usually not caught dead in the Denny's anyway, but fine. He wants to go to Denny's, I go. So we're sitting there, and the waitress comes over, and I get my coffee. That's basically how far I would stretch it those days. And he says to the waitress, "Can I get a bacon cheeseburger?" And I'm like, "Alan, it's day 3 of Passover. What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, sorry, Rabbi. I don't care about this stuff. That's your job to care about this stuff." Oh my God. That story always comes to my head. Just he's a funny dude. But in front of the rabbi, that was our relationship. He was fine. Bacon cheeseburger on Passover. It really was, as just a side note, to me, a learning, because I really was under the impression that most Jewish people keep Passover at least in some way, for the 7 days, 8 days. And I feel like more people than I realize, as soon as maybe day 1, day 2 are over, the matzah goes pretty quickly. Not everybody, a lot of people I know do, but more than perhaps I realized.
There are times I screw up. I accidentally.
Yeah, you do forget.
It's like, oh no, right? And I have a friend. We call each other. Did you screw up yet? No. Still doing good.
Still doing good. Like I knew somebody where it's like the minute Yom Kippur morning services were over, it was like ham and cheese sandwich time, you know, like whatever it was. And, it's different, obviously, for medical reasons. Obviously, it's different, but, and again, not that lightning is going to come to strike you, but it's just one of those things that I thought, hey, everyone sort of does this. Not everyone, per se, will do it. Though a Seder is, according to the recent studies, the most widely observed Jewish tradition out of all of them. Is the Passover Seder, that even Jews who are secular, consider themselves sort of non-observant religiously speaking, many of them still find their way, or a higher percentage of them find their way to a Seder. So it is interesting. I think it just speaks to the ritual.
Food is always a draw.
Yeah, food is a draw. Everyone's ready to hanker down for that parsley and horseradish. You gotta wait for the meal.
My grandkids love the parsley.
I know, my kids love the parsley too. I can't keep parsley in the house for Passover. I have to tell them that they can't eat it until second Seder is done, because they're eating the parsley. It's like, we never have parsley in the house. Maybe that's why it's a treat. But who eats parsley? Just as a snack. I don't know.
I bet you number 2 is break the fast. Break the fast after Yom Kippur. I bet you more Jewish people that are not even anyway religious, they go find someplace to break the fast.
Because that's the whole thing. Is high holidays, I think, were 3rd or 4th, because you have Seder, and then you have the Hanukkah stuff. Hanukkah comes in. And so at number 2, because it's easy, just light a menorah, right? Or attend the menorah lighting at your friend's house, even if you're going to do it at your house. You'll have a latke, you'll have a sip of the good stuff, and you light the menorah. And so they're both, again, this is probably part of the greater point. Is that for most Jews, for the liberal, progressive sort of reform wing of Judaism, Passover and Hanukkah are primarily home holidays, as opposed to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, which is a synagogue holiday, so to speak. Is that you can celebrate Hanukkah and never step foot in a synagogue, and for Passover, similar in a way. Unless you're coming to Passover morning services, you can do a Seder at your house. And so it's just interesting, again, in and of itself. Okay. Where are we up to? Leah, Moses
Moses then summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go, pick out lambs for your families and slaughter the Passover offering. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and apply some of the blood that is in the basin to the lintel and to the 2 doorposts. None of you shall go outside the door of your house until morning. For Adonai, when going through to smite the Egyptians, will see the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, and Adonai will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter and smite your home."
Side note, one of my favorite biblical words in English is smite. I don't know why, I've always enjoyed it. Smite or smote in the past tense. Don't know why. You don't use it enough in modern times, but but it's just they're a fun word to say. Anyway, so aside from that part of it, again, it was more of a repetition of what we had before. God tells Moses now tells the people, get the lambs, get the hyssop, and do the painting of the doorposts and the lintels. A lot happens at midnight, which is also a note. It doesn't say. Yeah.
Did they have windows? I mean, you can imagine all these things were supposed to go on outside. It'd be pretty scary. I wonder if they wanted to peek.
I don't know. I'm thinking it was a pretty. I don't know. I don't know it's a good question. I don't really know how they were constructed.
Now we're not talking about window pane.
Yeah, not window pane. No, but in terms of the huts would have an entrance, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that looked like, they would have some kind of entrance. I'm not sure how much privacy there was, but some kind of entrance. But I don't think after that, I think it was just like, here's how you get in. I don't think they had other parts of their hut that were open.
Because it'd be pretty scary to look out.
It would be very scary. And I think you're hearing a lot. This is the whole thing. You're hearing a lot of screaming and yelling, as well. But and there was also. Does anyone remember that part of the Haggadah where it said, "And it happened at midnight," and like all this stuff happens afterwards? People are using too many Maxwell House Haggadahs. I think that's the issue.
Yay!
No, I have the Union one.
The whole Union Haggadah.
And it says that, and it happened at midnight.
And it happened at midnight. It lists all these things, and like this is like it happened around like 1:45. Like midnight's a very specific time. Like I think there's probably power to midnight even back then.
How do they know it was midnight?
I knew you were gonna ask that. Like, I knew that was coming.
Oh my God.
Let me check my Apple Watch. It's 1 minute till plague. I don't know. Oh, we were here. Okay, you shall observe.
Okay, I got it back to be normal size.
David, can you read a little bit?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, before we get too far past the matzah, I just wanted to mention that we were having Passover with our 8-year-old grandson, and as he was reading, he said that we had to eat unlevitated bread.
Unlevitated, yes, that would be good.
We kind of float over.
Then it's too light. There's not enough gluten. It's too gluten-free. Those are the ones that levitate.
The bread.
That's great. Unlevitated.
Can't go up high. Yeah, has to stay unlevitated. All right. You shall observe this as an institution for all time, for you and for your descendants. And when you enter the land that Adonai will give you as promised, you shall observe this rite. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this rite? You shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice to Adonai, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt, when smiting the Egyptians, but saved our houses. Those assembled then bowed low in homage.
Okay. Yeah, so again, it's for all time, every generation, and that we do it when we're in Israel. And then again, we have this part in Haggadah too, when your children ask you, what do you mean by this? Then you sort of give them an explanation. There's actually another explanation that comes further in the Haggadah, but that's sort of the idea, is that you have to sort of teach your children about why we're doing what we're doing, which, as a side note, once again, not to give too much of attention, this is a really important lesson, generally speaking, with Judaism when it comes to education I'm going to stick mainly, to like the kids, but also with adults too. Like, it's good to know why you're doing things. Like, why do you do this? Oh, I don't know. Just, light the candles and let's move on to the next thing. It's like, if you give them a little more of an explanation, understanding of the context, it's usually better. That just the rote, performance of ritual, I think it means a little bit more when we actually know something about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Okay, Dave, give me a little more. And the Israelites went.
And the Israelites went and did so, just as Adonai had commanded. Had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. In the middle of the night, Adonai struck down all the male firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on the throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle.
That first one of the cattle always bums me, as well, in a way. I mean, like, it's depressing as it is, but it's like, what did the cattle do? The cattle already got beaten up earlier. We had cattle disease. We had, all this other stuff going on. And now, the firstborn sheep and the firstborn cow is going as well. It's
more to
a harsh
punish
place.
it was more to punish the Egyptians than to punish the cattle and the sheep.
That being said, they're still dead, right? I mean, like,
Egyptian cattle.
Egyptian cattle.
Be owned by an Egyptian.
Yeah.
How do you check?
Yeah, the Egyptian cattle, yeah. You're right. Say again?
I said, how do you check if it's an Egyptian?
How do you check? Yeah, exactly. It was owned by the Egyptian. It's like, yeah, he got the branded, this is Pharaoh's cow. I guess there were more hamburgers for everyone the next day, for those who are still around. But yeah, pretty rough go.
Why
Okay.
Why is it only the males?
Females didn't count.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that or it was sort of the parallel to the firstborn, or to the males being thrown in the Nile and all the other stuff in the beginning of the story. That the males were the warriors, and they're the ones who were doing all the killing at that time. So if you wanted to decimate a population, that's why you have later in Deuteronomy as well the idea that like you're supposed to kill all the males, but the women and the children you keep alive, the women you could potentially marry or whatever else might happen there. But it was the men they were worried about rising up to kill everybody afterwards in revolution. Revolution, we say.
Break down to like male.
I mean, they do it now. I mean, unfortunately, it's terrifying, but they do it now in the wars, especially in Africa. Where you slaughter the males and even the male children, because the male children grow up to be adults who can fight. And so don't forget what happened. So that's a very sad thing that still goes on in our society. It's not our society here, but in Africa and Asia. Okay. Okay, good. Susan, you want to read?
Okay. And Pharaoh arose in the night. I have food in my mouth. You want to read till I finish?
With all his courtiers and all the Egyptians, because there was a loud cry in Egypt, but there was no house where there was not someone dead.
He summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, "Up, depart from among my people, you and the Israelites with you. Go worship Adonai, as you said. Take also your flocks and your herds, as you said, and be gone. And you may bring a blessing upon me also." The Egyptians urged the people on, impatient to have them leave the country, for they said, "We shall all be dead." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders.
Okay, so they're all getting ready to go. The Egyptians getting everyone out, and the people, of course, getting their dough before it was leavened, before it had time to rise. Give me one more paragraph.
The Israelites had done Moses' bidding and borrowed from the Egyptians objects of silver and gold and clothing. And Adonai had disposed the Egyptians favorably toward the people, and they let them have their request. Thus they stripped the Egyptians.
Okay, so yeah, take some to go, take some candlesticks and whatever else we got, and get out of Dodge.
You owe us.
You owe us a little bit, working hard here. Okay, time to run, time to flee. Sandy, let's get out of Egypt.
Okay. The Israelites journeyed from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 fighting men on foot, aside from non-combatants. Moreover, a mixed multitude went up with them, and a very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves.
I think they would have prepared a little more provisions, considering they had a little forewarning that it was time to go.
They weren't told to do that.
They weren't told enough to
They
do
were
it. I don't
slaves,
know.
so they couldn't think on their own.
I can't tell you. It's like when you're leaving for a car trip, you got to pack it up. You got to get everything in there. So the kids aren't going to be hungry in the car and yelling at you. Which again, I know from a little bit of experience, I guess, at this point in time. So I got to tell you, I'm driving the car on 19, going at a pretty good clip, and all of a sudden I get hit on the back of the head, and it's because Benji has thrown his empty box of raisins at me. So that was helpful as I was driving, and so he's like, "More!" and throwing stuff at me. So
I'm driving.
Not while I'm driving, Ben. Not while I'm driving, but you gotta have the food prepared, is all I'm saying. Okay.
Like the Ukrainians fleeing with whatever they can carry really quickly, not very much.
Yeah, you got to go. I mean, it's very right. When you got to go, you can't be dallying here. And it's like that old saying. It's like, if you have to leave quickly, I mean, God forbid, but like certainly, I don't know if anyone here had this experience with their parents or grandparents where like the suitcase was packed. It's like, people have the suitcase packed just in case that tomorrow's the day, when you got to go. And you can't be messing around trying to find what you want to have. The bag's packed already somewhere, the go bag, in case, whatever happens to you.
The FBI comes knocking.
I mean, people are worried. They're worried about anti-Semitism. That's going to be the day when the Gestapo comes to knock on your door, even if you're living in Riverdale. It's like, people feel worried that something's going to happen, and other folk now have copied us, like people who are worried about the zombie apocalypse. And just to make sure whatever the thing is going to be, the bag is packed, and they have the provisions. We were there for a while, Sandy. Tell us the length of time.
Well, the length of time that the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430th year, to the very day, all the ranks of Adonai departed from the land of Egypt. That was for Adonai a night of vigil to bring them out of the land of Egypt. That same night is Adonai's one of vigil for all the children of Israel throughout the ages.
We have to keep it basically saying as a night of memory. So that's our night of memory that evening when all this stuff happened. 430 years of servitude. And so, we're talking about maybe 2000 BCE, something like that, to maybe date the Exodus, maybe a little earlier, but in that area. Oh my goodness, long time. And again, it's like while we're fleeing, God teaching us about Passover. So as we're running, Barbara, you want to pick up here? Adonai said to Moses.
Adonai said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the law of the Passover offering. No foreigner shall eat of it, but any householder's purchased male slave may eat of it once he has been circumcised. No bound or hired laborer shall eat of it. It shall be eaten in one house. You shall not take any of the flesh outside the house, nor shall you break a bone of it. The whole community of Israel shall offer it."
Very nice. Yeah. Circumcision's a high price to pay for a lamb chop. Maybe that's just me. That lamb better be mighty tasty. But yes, they have that going on. Little more, Barbara.
If a male stranger who dwells with you would offer the Passover to Adonai, all his males must be circumcised. Then he shall be admitted to offer it. He shall then be as a citizen of the country, but no uncircumcised man may eat of it. There shall be one law for the citizen and for the stranger who dwells among you.
Yes. So that's the laws of the offering, because again, it was a sacred offering, ritual meal, and so there were sort of lines of distinction of who could partake in it and who couldn't. And so God is sort of laying down those distinctions. And actually, Barbara, give me one more to finish off this little part here.
And all the Israelites did so, as Adonai had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. That very day, Adonai freed the Israelites from the land of Egypt, troop by troop.
Okay, and so off we go into the wild wilderness.
So circumcision is at that time, that's conversion.
That's conversion. No intro to Judaism class, no 16 weeks of study, no living a year Jewishly, just the circ, just.
Yeah.
That was going to do it at that point. Yes. Karen, can you see on the screen well enough to read?
Yeah, I fixed it. It took a little bit, but I fixed it. Okay. Adonai spoke further to Moses, saying, "Consecrate to me every male firstborn, human and beast. The first male issue of every womb among the Israelites is mine. And Moses said to the people, remember this day on which you went free from Egypt, the house of bondage, how Adonai freed you from it with a mighty hand. No leavened bread shall be eaten. You go free on this day in the month of Abib.
Yeah, Aviv, you know, Aviv better.
Okay.
Just the name what I had here. So the firstborn are consecrated to God, you know, and then there's a redemption process we're going to learn about a little later in the Torah. And then we get to remember this happened, obviously, and then we're going to celebrate this holiday. Give me a little more, Karen. So when Adonai.
So when Adonai has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which was sworn to your fathers to be given to you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you shall observe in this month the following practice. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a festival of Adonai. Throughout the 7 days, unleavened bread shall be eaten. You said that already. No leavened bread shall be found with you, and no leaven shall be found in all your territory. And you shall explain to your child on that day, it is because of what Adonai did for me when I went free from Egypt.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a repeat. We sort of had this about a chapter ago. That's why I mentioned it has here this other idea. It has less smiting in it. It's a little bit pithier. When your child asks you on this day what happened, it's because of what God did for me when I went free from Egypt. That's what made it to Haggadah, less smiting. I made it to Haggadah. It's still there too, but you know, this was a little bit easier, a little more straightforward because of what God did for me. Because there was a lot that God did. You know, it wasn't just a one-shot deal. You know, God did a lot during this time of liberation. So
yeah, but he let us live in slavery for 430 years.
A lot of time, you know, in slavery. You know,
That's right. It won't be more than a few weeks before they start rebelling anyway.
exactly. You know, more rebelliousness. You know.
Rabbi, what do you think they were referring to as the festival of Adonai on the 7th day?
That it should be like a Shabbat again. It should be like a sacred, sort of set aside, consecrated day. That's why we do Yisker, you know, on the last day of Passover.
You don't think it's freedom from matzah?
What?
Freedom from matzah?
Freedom from matzah, you know, you have to wait one more day. So on Friday night, we're going to have both if we wind up getting this all organized, the Friday night's going to have a regular oneg and a Pesach oneg for those who are observing an 8th day. We're going to try to honor both traditions. I'm pretty sure I know which is going to be eaten and which is going to be left over. It's like
money on that.
Yeah. You know, it's like all these pizza places are getting called on like the last day of Passover, and like we're getting more calls than usual from all these Steens and Steins and Levy's are calling the pizza places. What's going on tonight?
This is what God did for me.
Yes, it's like all the Chinese food places get booked on, the Christmas Eve. Oh my goodness. Okay. Karen, give me a little more, and this shall serve.
And this shall serve you as a sign on your hand and as a reminder on your forehead, in order that the teaching of Adonai may be in your mouth, that with a mighty hand Adonai freed you from Egypt. You shall keep this institution at its set time from year to year. And when Adonai has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, as God swore to you and your fathers, and has given it to you, you shall set apart for Adonai every first issue of the womb, every male firstling, I like that term, firstling, that your cattle drop shall be Adonai's, but every firstling ass you shall redeem with the sheep. If you do not redeem it, you must break its neck. Oh dear. You must redeem every male firstborn among your children.
So anyone heard about the ceremony Pidyon Haben?
Yeah, we have
Yes.
some.
Yeah, so a few of us know the Yon Haben. It's when you redeem the firstborn. It's the firstborn male. So like, when you have the male child, you have to go to the temple with some shekels, you know, and whatever. I don't remember what the right amount is, but I think it's like five.
I thought it was
Yeah.
5 gold coins.
Yeah,
That's what we had the guy, the Cohen come to our house.
Yeah, well, you know, someone goes to your house, you go to them, and you redeem. Because the firstborn's supposed to be in temple service, you know, right? You know, so that's how it becomes later. That the firstborn is God, being the firstborn has to be involved in temple service. And so my mother did this for me, you know, when I'm the firstborn, I have a younger brother. But then when I became a rabbi, she wanted a refund.
I don't think there are any refunds.
Or that the Cohen gave the money back.
You know. Yeah. You need these 5 shekels. We'll take the kid. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a tradition that comes from this. And then, but again, it's going to get looped into the temple service
But it has to
as
be a
well.
Cohen, right? That does it?
Yeah, well, in the Reform movement, less so. But just, you know, usually whoever the rabbi is. If you have any extra shekels to give, you know, you have to redeem somebody. My office is open for redemption. I'll even validate your parking. Yeah. Question? No?
When they're 30 days old?
Yeah, I think 30 days old.
30 days old.
Remember we-
That's a sell-by date. If you don't like it, you have to give it back.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, you have 30 days for a full refund. And when in the time to come a child of yours shall ask you, saying, what does this mean? You shall reply yet again, it was with a mighty hand that God brought us out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Adonai slew every male firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of both human and beast. Therefore I sacrifice to Adonai every first male issue of the womb, but redeem every male firstborn among my children. So the redemption comes in. It's a sign upon your hand, a symbol on your forehead. We'll get to the solution later. It's going to become mezuzah and tefillin, obviously, in later, you know, Jewish thought, that with a mighty hand, Adonai freed us from Egypt. Now, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the Philistines, although it was nearer, you know, via a shorter trip. For God said the people may have a change of heart when they see war and return to Egypt. They were already sort of like flighty as it was. You know, they had a rough go for 130 years worth. They didn't want to see a lot of violence and bloodshed. They wanted to take the scenic route. And that way they wouldn't see all the craziness going on around them, sort of a little quiet time. So it's a little longer of a schlep, but sometimes that's okay. You know, you take a little bit of a longer route. It makes life a little easier. So God led the people round about by the way of the wilderness, the Sea of Reeds. Now the Israelites went up armed out of the land of Egypt. Remember, they took some stuff with them. And Moses, can't forget the bones, took the bones of Joseph, who had exacted an oath from the children of Israel, saying, God will be sure to take notice of you, and then you shall carry up my bones from here with you. It's like one of those things, like if you forgot Joseph's bones, you probably have to turn around, and you wouldn't want to do that. It's like, do we have everything? Keys, wallet, bones? You know, like you have to make sure you have all the stuff with you. And Joseph was one of them. And he's been dead for 130 years plus, right? So not much of him was left. They set out from Sukkot and camped at Etham at the edge of the wilderness. Adonai went before them in a pillar of cloud by day to guide them along the way, and a pillar of fire by night to give them light, so that they might travel day and night. No breaks. Got to keep walking. Got to keep moving. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night did not depart from before the people. So God is like the GPS, and keeping them on pace.
What are they talking about with this symbol on your forehead? I mean, I get you said later on. I get that.
Yeah.
But back here in the story.
I think it to me is a sign of remembrance. Like it's supposed to be up here. Like keep it up here in your head. That should be something that is important to you. But yeah, I'm not really sure past that, because they weren't wearing anything. Like they weren't wearing any garb at this time.
Okay. And it doesn't indicate what it is.
What it actually is. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 14 will be our starting point next time around. That way we know where we are. Everyone have a good Seder?
Oh, yeah. I saw brisket. I don't know about lamb.
Biscuit's gonna be good.
Rabbi, I
The question
think,
becomes about charoset still. Charoset's one of those things where we have the Ashkenazi sort of charoset, recipe, the apples, the walnuts. And this does come, I believe, Talmudic, and that's where we get it from. And it's supposed to be mortar, right? But the question comes in, if we were in South America, could you use guacamole as charoset?
Why not?
It's
question.
mortar, it's the same thing. Like there's something cultural about it, where it's like because if you have like Italian charoset or whatever it is, there's different stuff in it. Like they don't do the apples and the walnuts; they do figs and dates and honey and other sort of things.
Why not?
Well, and so what would be Florida charoset?
Orange.
orange juice,
Oranges or grapefruits.
coconuts,
Orange, mango,
not mango,
Coconuts don't really grow here on that one.
pineapples.
That's not-
pecans.
Okay, the correct answer was fish spread.
What?
Every restaurant's got a fish spread. That was the correct answer. But thanks for playing, everybody. No,
Is that going to be a
oranges-
question on the on
Friday
Sunday?
again. Yeah,
With
okay.
oranges, you could probably do something, but I don't know. Like, yeah, but they're sweet. But like to make it like an orange sorbet, maybe
Yeah.
Melts.
oranges. It fits, but I don't know how you mush orange in the same
Well,
way.
if you take oranges with coconut and mango, that could mush together pretty well.
You gotta
It
mush
sounds
it
like
together.
a pina colada.
You put the lot.
Yeah, so you don't have
Also
red
not a bad idea.
what you want
Pina
in your
colada.
coconut.
Yeah. There you go. You can have a pina colada. That works out.
All right. So,
Some kind of smoothie.
Someone I
Good
work
to
with,
me.
he brought in today
Thank
roasted,
you, Rabbi.
like bittersweet chocolate. He uses a date roasted.
We're talking about chocolate and charoset together.
It's very interesting.
Got to get that chocolate in everywhere, right?
Gotta get chocolate everywhere. Someone posted today, one of my rabbi colleagues, I think it was on Facebook, that someone reminded him that charoset was just basically apple pie filling. And so you can put a scoop of ice cream on it, sort of warm up the charoset, and you have a little bit of like fake pie because there's no pie crust, but you have the filling of apples, and because it's apples, it's walnuts, it's sugar, and whatever it is. So wine
Thank you,
or
Rabbi.
grape juice. Okay,
See you
everybody.
next time.
Catch you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Don't blame it,
Bye.
students. Stick around.
Bye.